What is up, guys? It's your boy Monster Mash Cacus, and today, with the Festival of the Lost 2023 Halloween event coming to Destiny 2, one of the big additions for this year was the introduction of Eerie Engrams and, by extension, Hocus Focusing. So now you can go out, farm those Eerie Engrams, check out the video I did on how to do so, and then you can turn those into exotic armor for whatever character you're on. But a lot of people are just going in and saying, I want this exotic, I'm just gonna throw all my Eerie Engrams at it. I wouldn't actually do it that way, and in fact I think you're wasting resources if you look at this event that way, because the exotics are broken up into different categories. We have an arms category, leg, chest, etc. You can actually look at the contents and give it a grading scale, give it a value, and give it a probability that you're going to get something good. Like, what is the chance you focus legs and get actually good viable legs compared to chest, compared to arms, etc. Well, that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video, actually determining what you should spend your Eerie Engrams on, what's going to give you the best bang for buck in terms of exotics on the Titan. So, starting with the legs here, Dune Marchers were very, very good, but they were nerfed and don't see a ton of play right now. Lion Ramparts give you that extra jump, that extra mobility. I know some people who swear by them and will not take them off. They have always seen a bit of play, but they aren't necessarily in the OP category. Then we have MK44 stand-asides, don't really see play. Peacekeepers right now, because SMGs are insane in PvP, these are seeing a lot of PvP play. After that, Antius wards were cracked, literally got nerfed I think this week, so not doing well right now. Peregrine Greaves, very niche play right now. They're actually going to get a big buff where they're going to refund their energy when you kill a mini boss or something like that, but they haven't received that just yet. Then we have the Phoenix Cradle. This is actually one of my favorite PvE exotics for running a Solar Titan because it supports your team so well, providing so much extra healing. In fact, these were kind of essential for finishing the Day 1 Crota's End raid because of all the healing they provided. After that, Path of the Burning Steps, they're alright, going to increase your solar weapon damage, and so overall, what can we actually do to look at this mathematically? Well, here's the image I made. So I would say that 3 out of 8 of these exotics, and that's going to be the Lion Ramparts, the Peacekeepers, as well as the Phoenix Cradles, I want to get. I actively want to get good stats for. And that gives us a 37.5% chance to get something good. Now, if I'm a little bit more generous and I say, hey, Peregrine Greaves are going to get buffed soon, and the Path of the Burning Steps, they really aren't that bad. That brings it up to 5 out of 8, which is a 62.5% chance. But overall, I'm going to be a little bit harsher here, and I'm just going to give you my personal opinion. So if you're like, dude, I love the MK44 stand-asides, that's fine, you do you, but you're watching me, so obviously I gotta give my opinion, and that's how we're gonna grade these going forward. Now, moving on from there, guys, we have the chest pieces. So, honestly, the Actium War Rig is a pretty fun exotic to use, but it's never really been super meta, except for the one time when the Xenophage just came out and it was absolutely broken. After that, we have the Armamentarium. I actually love these. They're so simplistic, just giving you an extra grenade, but they work in so many different builds. The Crest of the Alpha Lupi has never really seen too much play. The Hallowfire Heart did actually get buffed pretty recently, where it now does stuff with sunspots, but it still isn't seeing a ton of play right now. The Heart of the Inmost Light, man, this thing was absolutely broken until it got a pretty devastating nerf. I really haven't used it too much since the nerf. I've seen some niche play with it, but that's kind of about it. After that, Severance Enclosure, not really meta. No one really uses this thing. Cuirass of the Falling Star, on the other hand, very commonly used. Very, very good, gonna massively improve your Thunder Crash damage. Now, the thing is, though, often you're gonna swap to this, use your Thunder Crash, and swap off of it, especially if you're on PC, and that's a quick procedure. But with that being said, you do want a good Cuirass. It is actually pretty commonly used. And then the Hoarfrost Z doesn't really see a lot of play. So what does this actually look like? Well, overall, here's the rating. The ones I would really want actually are just the Armamentarium and the Cuirass. You could maybe make an argument for like Heart, but again, like I just don't use it personally. So that's 2 out of 8. That's a 25% hit rate if you're focusing chest pieces. Now, after that, guys, the thing that really kind of changes the algorithm here is the fact that we have a bajillion arms and different amounts of arms actually for the 3 different characters. So for the Titan here, you actually have 13 pairs of arms. So let's go through them. A Feedback Fence, actually buffed pretty recently, still doesn't see any play. Aeon Safe, you absolutely want a good pair of Aeons for every single class. Even though usually it's the Hunter using Aeons, sometimes you gotta do it as a Titan. They generate heavy, they're very, very good. After that, the Ashen Wigs don't really see a ton of play, unfortunately. Doomfang Pauldrons don't really see a ton of play. After that, Synthoceps see a ton of play, absolute S tier right now, but they're actually going to get nerfed. The lunge range is being removed. That's going to matter quite a bit in PvP. The Wormgod Caress, melee kills increase melee damage. Dude, this thing is literally disabled every other season because people find absolutely broken stuff to do with it. So, I mean, like, it's definitely not overpowered. Anytime it gets really good, Bungie literally disables it, so it's very hard to give a ranking or recommendation, but obviously the potential is there. Ursa Furiosa really isn't seeing a ton of play right now, other than like very niche Grandmaster circumstances, I would say, and even then, like, you don't really see it that often. Stronghold, on the other hand, these just got a massive buff in combination with swords kind of getting a buff. You can have basically infinite sword guard with the strongholds. That is actually a pretty big deal. I've seen some pretty crazy stuff with these exotics. After that, Titan's Ramparts were S+ tier in PvP. Now they've been nerfed quite a bit along with Towering Barricades. No backup plans, just got a buff. You're going to get a ton of overshield stuff with shotguns, but they still don't see like really any play right now. After that, Icefall Mantle, really don't see a ton of play other than people trolling in PvP. You can definitely get some crazy clips with this thing, but it requires a ton of setup, and again, it isn't really like high tier. The Second Chance is a pretty recent one. I think it actually received a bit of a buff, still like doesn't really see any play. After that, Point Contact Cannon Brace, again, got a buff, but still doesn't see any play right now. So, what does that actually give us? Well, here is the results. Overall, I would say like 4 out of the 13 arms, like I'm actively going for, I actively want. And again, one is like the strong, I don't really use the stronghold a ton, but I recognize the potential and I want a good one. And so overall, that's a 30% hit rate, guys. But moving on from there, the final category is helmets. So what does that look like? Well, we have the Insurmountable Skull Fort, going to give you your arc melee energy back. Actually very fun, but not super meta. We have the Eternal Warrior, just got a big buff now. It provides like arc damage increases. Still doesn't see a ton of play right now, though. Then we've got the Helmet Safe 14. I think is super underrated. I really like this thing. Try running a bubble in like a higher level content like a Grandmaster. Without this, you peek your head out, you just get domed, okay? So the overshield this provides is actually super, super useful. After that, we have the Kepri's Horn, some niche PvP uses with Strand, because you could like suspend someone and then the blast hits them and they just die. After that, Mask of the Quiet One has basically never seen play. Unfortunately, One-Eyed Mask used to be OP, doesn't really see a ton of play right now. Precious Scars, you read the description, it sounds good, but you can get some absolute clips with it. If you're being carried in trials or something, probably put this on, because when you get rezzed, you know, you get a bunch of benefits for your team, but again, doesn't really see a ton of play. Lordly Splendor was absolutely broken, providing that continuous regeneration every time you would get wounded. So good at the time. It did get a big nerf, so it only provides like restoration ×1 instead of ×2, but still very, very good. Like just being able to heal yourself anytime you get critically wounded is still very, very good. And so overall, what does it look like for helmets? Well, I think only 2 out of the 8 I'm going for. And again, those are like my personal 2 out of 8. A lot of of people don't like the helm, and a lot of people would say that the Loreley has been long since nerfed. So not a great 25% there. And so overall, what does that actually give us for like best bang for your buck? Well, number one, it's actually going to be those Titan legs, 37.5%. With me being harsh, remember, it was all the way up to 60% if I was being a little bit more lenient. So if you want to focus your Eerie Engrams and have the best chance of getting something decent, at least in my opinion, I think you're going for legs. After that, guys, it's actually arms with 30.7%, right? Even though there's a ton of arms, there's actually quite a few good ones, and so that's a pretty high hit rate as well. And so guys, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.